We got the news over the weekend that Quinshon Judkins had been arrested for domestic violence charges. He is out on bond, and Zach Jackson was on the morning show, did a great job of comparing not the literal circumstances, but the legal proceedings and how quickly they were wrapped up, 5 to 6 weeks. It was, I want to say, a couple weeks after that, the NFL came down with a suspension for Mike Hall Jr. This one happens about a month earlier, so we'll see how kind of that plays out. But you're going to lay out right now for us, JP, why the recent developments for the Browns might have already changed their plans.
All right, just from a pure football perspective, if part of the reason why I thought the Browns would have interest in Kenny Pickett and why I think they like Kenny Pickett is that Kenny Pickett doesn't turn the ball over much. And I thought their plan going into this upcoming season for the first few weeks, even though I thought Joe Flacco would still start, if they went Kenny Pickett, it'd be with the idea that they want to do two things, which is run the ball and play great defense. Basically, they wanted to do a poor man's version of the Steelers offense and what they've seen Kenny Pickett not thrive in, but at least play in before, and that's how they would end up winning a lot of games. Well, if Judkins is out and you don't have the run game, you'll still have a strong defense, but I wonder if instead of trying to limit turnovers and have the strong run game, if this then puts Joe Flacco in the driver's seat.
So I think that's interesting. There is a part of me that's like, you don't necessarily need a bell cow back to run the power run scheme or the outside zone scheme. But I can understand how if you're already juggling, all right, who's at quarterback? I can understand how if you can't get 3 tough yards, how that might impact the way you look at the quarterback spot.
I mean, I thought if Kenny Pickett won the job for week 1, they were going to throw the ball 20 to 25 times, just a terribly low amount of times. Yeah. And then it'd be a lot of different running backs and a lot of different looks within the running back situation. But if you don't have a run game, if Judkins isn't there and it's just Ford and it's just Sampson, and I like Ford and I like Sampson, but if it's just those two guys, maybe this is where they have to pivot the offensive outlook and all of a sudden say, all right, Joe, we're back to letting you just let it loose and let it rip.
The math I keep trying to math with the Browns is, where do you get explosive plays from? And so this might run contrary to your idea. Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson, I don't know if they're consistent enough to each get 15 carries a game or 20 carries a game, right? Whatever used to slot in for Nick Chubb per game. But I do think I think one of the reasons why Joe Flacco makes so much sense to me is I don't see you moving the ball with Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel. I just don't. I see you dinking and dunking, and the reality is when that's the knock on you, you've got to then prove that you can do the other thing, and I don't think either Kenny or Dylan can do it. So that's why it's always made sense for Joe, specific to the running back. If you're Kenny Pickett, this might be manna from heaven, even though nobody ever wants this kind of stuff to happen, but just from the line of Jerome Ford or Dylan Sampson, the second they touch the ball, you might get a bunch of 1-yard runs. You get one touchdown that might open up the offense for you.
I just think Kenny Pickett's going to be asked. He would have been asked if we had Judkins and everyone there to basically game manage is all it is. And that's what he is. He's not even a glorified game manager. He is a game manager, where now with Flacco, if you go against the grain and you go with Flacco and you let him just kind of rip it, that's your best chance of actually putting touchdowns on the board.
I think what's going to be really interesting is if he does face suspension by the league. And I think some people have assumed that's going to be a foregone conclusion. We haven't. It is really dangerous to assume anything this early in the proceeding. But if it happens and if it comes to fruition, I think it's going to be really interesting when it happens. Because if you say it happens week 1 through 6, I don't know, Matt. I'm not trying to put too much on Quinshon or take anything away from Jerome Ford. Against those defenses where you're facing better defenses, you're going to need to get tough yards. You're going to have to find short yardage guys from somewhere, and it sure as hell isn't going to be Dylan Sampson at this point. And I still don't think between the tackles, that's where Jerome's going to get you either.
No, you're going to have a lot of drives if it's the two of them. And I like both of them, but you're going to have a lot of drives because their home run hitting ability, where you have first and 10 turns into second and 9, that turns into third and 7, and then it turns into turnover on downs.
216-474-0092. Want to hear you guys on this. I like the way you laid it out. I think it makes some sense. I don't want to say it makes a lot of sense that this could impact the quarterback spot, just because when you go to Kenny, you need everything in place. You need the offensive line to be healthy. You need Jerry Jeudy to be healthy and engaged in the offense. You need a better David Njoku than he got last year, and you do need Yeah, I mean, you specific to the running game, you need to be able to run for 150 yards a game to have a chance with Kenny Pickett because of his lack of arm talent. I think you're onto something, and it'll be interesting. Like, because I think there's math involved. It's not just Quinshawn. But all right, what if DeWand misses a game at the start of the season, or Ethan Posick isn't ready for? If you have some injury on the offensive line, I think there is some sort of complicated math, some arithmetic that says that just wouldn't be right to send Kenny out there unless he is because he is the epitome of what people talked about with Baker. You need everything around him where it needs to be,
right,
and heading in the right direction. If you're starting to subtract pieces, he's going to go from a guy I already don't think is very good to really being potentially problematic and just being teed off on because teams know you can't throw the damn ball down the field.
I mean, I would imagine, and obviously everyone in the Browns organization is upset with this news, but like Kevin Stfansky, if you wanted to go back to the old Kevin Stfansky, the original Kevin Stfansky, where you just run the ball and you figure out ways to use the ground game, like that's ultimately what he's been built his entire career around. Like this is a big detriment to that if you miss the first weeks of the season.
And it's interesting you say that. We've never seen, because this might be where the Kevin Stfansky, we're going to turn back the clocks to 2020, 2021, 2023. This might be where there's more faulty math. He's never done that in Cleveland, minus Nick Chubb, right? I guess technically you did have no Nick Chubb for all but like 5 quarters in 2023, but the running game wasn't good that year.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got by with elite defense and just enough plays, and then when Joe came in, it didn't really matter what the run game did because he just threw a bunch of touchdowns and got guys open.
Remember the last year with Baker? Again, he only threw, I think, maybe like 28, 29 passes a game or whatever it was. But like before the season, there was a Matthew Berry report. Matthew Berry's a big fantasy football guy, as you guys know out there. But Matthew Berry had talked to somebody at the Combine, and they'd suggested that Baker would throw 35 to 40 times per game. And it was like, oh, we're going to have this massively different offense. It's going to look different. It's going to be different. And then obviously the season went the way that it went. Like I think Stfansky is most comfortable with a quarterback that throws the ball fewer times than not and is able to just rely on just a great running game.
So as mentioned, Zach Jackson was on with the Morning Boys earlier today and did break down the quarterback situation absent of the Judkins charges.
Based on what I think right now and who it would be, that would be Kenny Pickett. But I think it's way too early to say that with any, because like, I guess I won't be stunned if Kenny Pickett's the week 1 starter. I think it's fair to wonder if Shedeur will ever play a real down. Do I think he has the talent to potentially be a starting quarterback in this league? Yes, but potentially, eventually, not this September.
So we'll put the Shedeur thing off for a moment. If I'm Kenny Pickett, do I feel a little less secure in where I'm going? Honestly, he shouldn't feel secure the second they drafted the second quarterback.
Right.
But now that you're missing one weapon,
I mean, I think his odds went way down.
I don't know, way down, but they're impacted.
If I were him, I'd look at it like they went way down. And now that sucks to look at it that way because then you're dependent. Your skill set is dependent on other people being great or other people doing their job. But at this point in Kenny Pickett's career, that's who he is.
The only thing I'd say about that is I don't know athletes have that kind of self-awareness. I don't mean that harshly, but to get where Kenny's gotten or any of these other guys, you have to have such a supreme confidence in who you are and what you do and your ability to football that there's a part of me that I wonder if he's doing the math.
Yeah, maybe he's not. Maybe he's just like, I'll just put my head down and I'll train and I'll focus on everything and I'll let the chips fall where they may. But if I'm looking at this as like, is the deck now stacked against you with Judkins if he's out for the first 6 weeks? If you're trying to win the starting job week 1, I would say it looks more stacked against you than it did 48 hours ago.
Jerry, welcome to the show. Jerry, what you got for us? Thank you for waiting.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, Jerry.
So, first of all, I'm a UC grad, so I really hope Jerome can just take this opportunity and run with it. Terrible pun intended. But secondly, with Judkins, pardon my take on this, and maybe I'm out left field or maybe I'm on an island somewhere, but I don't know. I just think the organization of the team, they just need a giant facelift after the Deshaun Watson mess. And honestly, maybe they have to trade Judkins and just walk away from it, try to get like a mid to late round pick or maybe a big party-sized bag of Toasties.
Thank you there, Jerry, for the call. Yeah, they're not trading Quinshawn. They're not going to do that.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't expect that in the slightest bit. Now it will be interesting to see how he tries to get all his money and the guaranteed money with the second round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, does he hold out the way that the entire second round pick class minus 2 people have?
Because I think these are fair things. I blame no fan for thinking, cut him, trade him, whatever. That's the appropriate response to what he's accused of when you see it the first time or when you just think about it. That is a human response. I get it. It's not going to happen. And same thing to the idea of even the contract. Like if he does buckle on this and you see him sign a contract quickly, he himself might have overreacted to this, considering it is a legal proceeding. You have to take care of that, and whatever's going to happen with the league is going to happen. I would look at Quinshon buckling on his contract demands and being the next guy to sign his contract, and I would wonder, like, all right,
you're really just trying to get the bag here?
Yeah, well, no, are you really taking the best advice?